You and I were broken. We're imperfect, and you may see these as reasons that you can't surrender. You may find yourself asking the question, why should I surrender? I think the best way for me to share with you why you should fully surrender, why you should surrender it all, is to share what God's been teaching me. So, if you're watching this video, you may have come across it by my YouTube channel page or even the video about Together 22. And that's awesome. But know that this video, I believe, will not be like every typical video that I create. This video, it's just you and me. And we're going to have a little conversation. And I'm going to share with you what God's been doing in my life so that out of the overflow of what God's been doing in my life, God uses it to change your life. And that's kind of the entire reason why this channel was created. Yes, we'll have some fun, awesome content, but the purpose of this channel is to create content out of the overflow, specifically for me, out of the overflow of my relationship with God. And you may be wondering what this has to do with surrender. And in my last video that I've created as of right now, I actually just finished the Together 22 video last night, I believe. One crucial thing that God kind of pointed out to me as I was listening to it, I was actually listening to it while I was cutting the grass, because that helps me to tell whether or not the audio is good. And although it's not perfect, and we'll dive into that a little bit later, God kind of pointed out to me that the video is all about the fact that you need to surrender it all, but it doesn't dive in to why you need to surrender it all. So the first video, if you haven't already seen it, I encourage you. I had a lot of people put in a lot of effort on it, and I'm super thankful for every single person that contributed in every single way. I had a lot of people put a lot of effort. Go check out that video. That video will help you understand this video a bit more. But if you've seen that video, then you're here watching this video and you're wondering why you should surrender it all. And as I was listening to that video, I'll go back to whenever I was cutting my lawn. As I was listening to that video, guy just kind of pointed out to me, he was like, hey, I love this video, but this video only says what your person, your audience, you needs to do. It doesn't say why they need to do it. And so I was praying about whether or not to add it onto the video or to just maybe put it at the end of the video, or I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. And God really just convicted me that I was scared that you guys wouldn't be willing to watch this video as well as that video, so I needed to go ahead and do it on that one. And that was a move of fear rather than trust. And this kind of, I guess, is a small little example of what it looks like to surrender it all to God. And this is the why. Because you and I were not created to take on the world. Rather, we were created to give our world to our Creator. And that's the overall why. I mean, I'm sure there are a million different ways that people could say why you need to fully surrender to God. But that's just what God's been showing me specifically over this past summer, that we were not created to take on the world, but to give our world to God, our Creator, because we are broken and we are imperfect people. We look at our world today, sorry, I messed up a little bit, and as I said, I'm imperfect. We look around at our world today and we see war, like literal war. We look around and we see people who are so scared and they don't know who they are. We look around and you may even look in the mirror and you question why you are even living. And I think this generation's biggest issue is that they have nothing to live for because they don't know who died for them. We fully surrender, not in order to gain God's love, but because God's love was given to us. There's nothing that we can do to earn it. He sent Jesus to take on our sin and defeat death just so that way we can know Him on a deeper level. And then you have people who choose to fully surrender, yet at the same time, they're still broken because they're still human. And this is the boat that I found myself in this summer. I trust in God. I am so blessed to be able to know and have a relationship with God. But God, why am I broken? Why do I have these needs, these desires, these fears, these joys? Why can I see a broken world, yet they don't even know that they're broken? They just know that they're in pain. Lord, why have you given me this grace to know that I'm broken? It's because of God's love for me. And it's because of God's love for you that He lets us know that we're broken. If you go back to Genesis, if you have a Bible, you don't have to whip it out, I'm just going to tell you. If you go back to Genesis, we once knew God on a personal level. We as humanity. But we chose to break that relationship with God. We chose that we wanted to trust in our authority rather than God's authority. And when we chose to do that, it broke that relationship with Him. But God, because He loves us so much, He sent Jesus to be able to reunite us, to repair that broken relationship with Him. By taking on our sin, He removed what was broken and replaced it with something new, so that way we are able to know God on a deeper level, so that we were able to know God at all. And as we live that out in every single day, every single second, every single minute, every single hour, you may find yourself wondering, what does it look like to surrender it all? I know I need to surrender it all. I know what it means or why I need to surrender it all. And it's because you were not created to take on the world, rather you were created to give your world to God, your Creator. But what does that look like? And the passage that God led in my heart to show this is actually one of my favorites, if not my favorite. It's Psalms 23. And I'm just going to read this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's a surrender right there. I'm going to point it out every single time. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. That's another surrender. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. That's another surrender. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. That's another surrender. Whenever you follow Christ, you're surrendering and trusting His lead. Yet, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That's a surrender. You're surrendering your fears, for you are with me. You're surrendering to God's trust in God's hand. Your rod, your staff, they comfort me. You're surrendering and resting in God. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Again, a surrender. You anoint my head with oil. That's a surrender, and that's receiving what God has to give you, his love for you. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. All throughout this passage, David is surrendering his fears, his desires, his anxieties. He's surrendering his enemies. He's surrendering his wants. This man is walking through the valley of the shadow of death, and he's surrendering it to God. Yet we have kids over here, like me, who are scared to go to school because of social anxiety. And that's truly, whenever I'm dwelling and being, well, I guess the best way to put it is when I am relying on myself, that is when I fail. But when I trust in God, even though God may lead us to failure sometimes in our own eyes when we obey him, God is always ultimately leading us closer to him. And I like how this says, he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. God has a full story here. Well, we only see the pages. We only see the chapters. God is writing the full story because he is the author of our story. So why should we fully surrender? Because we are not the authors. We are not the creators. We don't know what's best when. We're broken, we're messed up, we hurt, we cry. Yet even though we have all of these burdens, Jesus in Matthew 11:28 says this to us: "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We were created to rest in God. And that's what happens when we surrender to him. So, what I'm about to read to you is I haven't exactly figured out a word for it yet. It's not exactly a poem, a prayer. This one's just unique. And I'm going to read it to you today and share it with you. It's called You're the Author. Buried in oppression, handicapped by my anxieties, my words taken from me, living in the fear of what could and couldn't be. I tried to write my own story. I tried to move the pieces in for the perfect ending in the arms of the perfect one. Synced in a dance, just me and them. A dance of perfection with beauty, moving free, in the arms of the one I dreamed. Then all time stopped as if a race had just been won. What I lacked, I could not give. What I needed, what I need, you, O God, had, you, O God, give. You're the author of my life, writing my story. Just your word frees from chains that lead to death. This is not by my works, Lord, but by your love. Your timing is perfect because you are the only truly perfect one. And you're the one writing my story. Thank you. I guess you could say that was a bit more of a prayer. But God is the one writing our story. I'm going to leave you with this today. And I'm just going to ask you to ask yourself, are you fully surrendered? Even if you say that you're a Christian or say that you're going to heaven, are you living as though Jesus conquered the grave? Are you living as though God is God? Or are you living as though you are God? This is Jeremiah 17:5. Thus says the Lord, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart departs from the Lord, for he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, and a salt land which is not inhabited. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose hope is in the Lord. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes, but its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitfully, or excuse me, the heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart, I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose hope is in the Lord. So, here comes a question. Who or what are you trusting in? Lord, I pray that my friend, no matter what their age is, Lord, that they will be a part of a generation that is fully surrendered to you. Lord, I'm broken. Use me in my imperfections, Lord. You say that your grace is sufficient for me, that your strength is made perfect in weakness. Lord, I pray that my friend would fully trust and surrender to you with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Lord, use the words, Lord, that you are speaking through me right now, Lord, to at least plant a seed in their heart, Lord, so that they may know you on a deeper level, Lord, so that way they would no longer look to the world to satisfy them, Lord, because the world will not satisfy them. Lord, what they give to the world just keeps on asking for more and more. But Lord, when they entrust their life to you, Lord, you just hug them. You say, welcome home, child. Welcome home. I love you.